As the president prepares to announce the reopening of the country and allowing governors to be able to have the freedom to start getting their people back to work, restoring their economies, and restoring the mental health of their people, some reporters, the mainstream media, and of course the Democrats, pushing back. We're not ready to do this. The death rate is still highest in America than anywhere else. And the president refuted them with facts.
President, why do we have 20% of the world's deaths from the coronavirus when we're only 4% of the world's population?
Well, you don't know what you have. Do you think you're getting honest numbers from some of these countries? Do you really believe those numbers in this vast country called China, and that they have a certain number of cases and a certain number of deaths? Does anybody really believe that? Here's the story. We report everything. We're reporting the cases, and our reporting is good. We're reporting every death. In fact, I see this morning where New York added 3,000 deaths because they died, and they're now saying, rather than it was a heart attack, they're saying it was a heart attack caused by this, so they're adding.
Governor Cuomo, is God killing more people in New York than we originally thought?
God did not do that.
That's right, God did not do that. You did. Well, at least you've cooked the books to do that. As we reported yesterday, based on the New York Times, now in the state of New York, no matter what you die from, it is being tied to coronavirus. Now, is that misreporting? Is that hysteria to keep the people in fear and panic? Or a state that was bound for bankruptcy based on your poor budgetary planning and the fact that you want to fund all types of other, shall we say, socially minded aspects of the government rather than what's actually in the best interest of the legal New York taxpayer? Now, all of a sudden, coronavirus is the Christmas gift that keeps on giving. Isn't that right, Mr. Governor? Because you get $30,000 from the feds for every corona death. Well, once again, the president really seemed to be on his game, taking charge, in full command, his legs underneath him, ready to even stand up against his own vice president and, of course, the reincarnation of Dr. Kevorkian. That would be Dr. Fauci, the evil love child birthed as a result of Dr. Kevorkian and Dr. what's his name, Mengele, who came up with the final solution in Nazi Germany. Yes, that's what I think of Dr. Fauci. That all said, the president has now decided we are opening this country. He's got in place what he needs. And as the reporters pushed back, the president pushed back with another reality that Dr. Fauci and these governors and the rest of these so-called medical health experts with this narrative of we got to stay shut down, we got to stay shut down, we got to stay shut down. You've even got Democrats out there saying we need to shut down, there's an actual vaccine, which could be 12 to 18 months away. But hey, we can vote by mail. I mean, who thinks that the party that lost 33,000 of Hillary's emails could possibly do anything nefarious with mail-in voter ballots for a presidential election that they stand no chance in Hades of winning, except now they could actually commit mail fraud and put a guy with Alzheimer's and dementia into the Oval Office. What could go wrong with that plan? Well, the president's not having any of this nonsense, and he brought up some aspects that I have been shouting about, that other pastors ought to be shouting about, that we have been left out of the equation where we could be the strongest help and ally during this time.
There are still a couple thousand people as well dying a day because of coronavirus. When you talk about opening up the American economy, or at least in parts now, how do you balance that decision out given both of those figures?
Well, there has to be a balance. You know, There's also death involved in keeping it close. And I've gone over this with you, and I believe this so strongly. When you look at mental health, when you look at suicides, suicide hotlines which are exploding, people losing their jobs, when you look at drugs and people that didn't take drugs and now they're becoming drug addicted because they're going through a problem, they have no job, they have no money coming in. But you know, there is death by having this strongly closed country. We have to get back to work.
Boom. There it is. He is absolutely right. There is a psychological, an emotional, and a spiritual aspect to this that none of the so-called experts want to talk about. They want to talk about health? Let's talk about health for a moment. The president's right. What about the death by suicide right now, which is spiking? Of course, we don't know because they're not telling us. All they want to do is just report the corona death. I happen to live in a county that has had 4 deaths. 4. I know a man in my church. He has an adult daughter who lives out of state, and she called him up the other day just absolutely beside herself that the father of one of her friends from high school died from this. And right away, she's just, Dad, you can't leave the house. And Dad, if you do leave the house, you got to have a mask on. You got to have gloves on and a hazmat suit. And Dad. And he finally said to her, there's been 4 in the whole county. And I would add, do you understand that the way the media hypes up a death like this, you and I should each know 30 or 40 people that have died from it. I personally know absolutely no one who has died from it. And I only sort of casually know one person who has it or had it. I think actually I've had it, and I think a lot of other people have had it, gotten over it, and are on with it. So this hysteria. But yet, what about those who are committing suicide? Killing themselves slowly through addiction now. The despondency, the despair that everything familiar has been taken away. There's not even any diversion of like watching sports. Did I see that Taiwan has reinstituted baseball, but they've got cardboard cutout fans in the stands? Are you kidding me? Is this what we have to look forward to here? It's Major League Baseball season. Look, it's computer-generated fans in the stands. This is really what we're going to be about now, a virtual world? No, you know, eventually, if for no other reason, for the purposes of indoctrination, the liberals are going to want kids back in schools because eventually they are going to figure out that the longer they're home and being taught by mom and dad, the longer they're being taught actual, real, traditional faith and values again. Yeah. By the way, just a little side note, think about it. 50 million gun owners in this country are now homeschoolers. And we haven't had a school shooting. Maybe there is something to be said for arming the teachers. All right, I know, that's a little hyperbole over the top. It's a joke. Relax. Breathe. But now let's really dig into this. As a pastor, I have virtually been told I'm not essential. And sadly, a lot of my pastor brethren have bought into this nonsense. They stopped having services. They're having the church alone together. Do you have any idea how asinine and stupid that sounds? Well, we're doing Facebook Live. See, we could still have church because the church is not about a building. Well, nobody ever said it was, Sherlock. We get that. But the church, ecclesia, that's the Greek word for church. Ecclesia means a called out, calling together assembly. It does mean that the church, to be effective in service, to be effective in corporate worship, to be effective in receiving instruction from the Word, to live our lives, needs to come together. And immediately you bought into the government telling you, on your First Amendment constitutional right, the freedom of assembly and the freedom of expression, and there shall be nothing to infringe or stop that. You've let little local sheriffs and mayors and governors tell you you can't, and you're not. Because after all, we're to obey the higher authority until the higher authority disagrees with anybody, God. And in this case, they certainly have. They have stopped us from the mandate of forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. And there is something about when the church comes together. But I know you're having your YouTube services and you're having Facebook Live and you're patting yourself on the back. And the next time the government decides to do mass shutdowns, once again, like a $3 hooker, you will just spread your legs and say, okay, Pastor, that was just over the top, even for you. I am sick and tired of watching not our rights being taken away from us or stolen from us. We're just surrendering them. And I'm talking to pastors now. You know, the kind of pastors that make sure they've got the right suit on and they've got the right look and the right Bible and they got the right music and they're always pontificating and telling everybody else of their great faith and they're willing to die for their Lord. And we get a little media-hyped flu and you close and lock and padlock your doors and go into hiding, and now I'm supposed to believe you're a giant of the faith? Are you kidding me? Seriously? Seriously? And for you people sitting there saying, well, I don't think it's very Christian to gather your flock together and you spread sickness. Are you going to work? Are you going to the store? Oh, so you're actually leaving your house. You're out among people. I promise you, I can keep a church facility a whole lot more sanitized than you can keep your local supermarket. I know, they're wiping down the carts. Woohoo! Yes, because, you know, they can't possibly wipe down every head of lettuce that other people have touched. I don't want that one, I want this one. Hello? Hello? The fact that we're in this shutdown to begin with is ridiculous. But that all said, the church has historically been a place of sanctuary, a place of peace and rest for people who are troubled, scared, panicked, in the middle of a pandemic, whether it be a famine, a flood, a natural disaster, war, terrorism. The church doors being open offer people a place to go to seek refuge, to hear a message of hope, to build their faith. And we've cut that off. And pastor said, okay, I can do Facebook Live. And the next pandemic, when they want to shut everything down again, and what happens when all of these platforms you're using decide, no, that's hate speech. You can't do that here. Then what are you going to do, preacher man, when you can't have your Bible study from your kitchen table and your 6 viewers? You should have stood your ground and kept your doors open. I did. Now we're doing drive-in church now, and there are certain things that we are doing to raise the comfort level of people that personally I kind of think is personally a waste. But if that makes somebody else a little bit more comfortable, I'm willing to do that to raise their comfort level so that they feel like they can be here and be safe. I'm good with that. But ultimately, I am not going to forfeit my First Amendment right, nor am I going to forfeit the book of Hebrews, forsake not the assembling of yourselves together. And he goes on to say, especially in the end times, it's even more important. And if you don't think we're in the end times, or at least getting a sneak preview of what it's going to look like, when we have a vice president actually espousing the idea of chipping the population so that we can, quote, scan them and make sure that they're safe and we can be safe and they can go to work and conduct commerce and get on planes. Hello? Wake up, people. Wake up. Now, hearing the president getting ready to roll this out, I get it. I see that, yeah, I'm still concerned that Pence is the enemy within, But I think the president has wised up to that. I think to a certain degree he has to play a little of the game here. But he's definitely on to Fauci now. And he's going to reopen this country. And any governor that decides to really go into extreme lockdown, like Michigan, California churches are now suing Newsom. Good. Get your church reopened. Never should have closed to begin with. Funny thing is, California's bankrupt, but all of a sudden now Newsom is handing out stimulus checks to illegal immigrants. Great. You in California can't sit in your car and look at the beach. You can be fined for that. But an illegal immigrant who is here illegally, we're going to give him money. You got Governor Cuomo now mandating you got to wear a mask if you go out in public. What? Are you serious? See, the president can override that, and he will if he feels he needs to. You're seeing protests now in Ohio, in Michigan. People have had enough. And this is what I'm talking about, this psychological, spiritual aspect. And the church could have been such a useful asset and resource for the government. We could have been the ones to gather people to induce calm. And instead, you cut us off, and the vast majority of pastors in this country said, okay. Not me. Now, I fully understand that some of my people didn't feel safe to come. I understand that. Especially some of my senior adult, older members. You do what you have to do first and foremost to protect your family. And no one will judge you harshly according. But I've also had people come to me and say, Pastor, thank you. I don't know what I would do if the church wasn't here. See, those stories aren't being told. I know pastors that aren't even keeping office hours right now. I am. What, people don't need counsel? People don't need counsel? Are you kidding me? How could you not have office hours? I know one knucklehead pastor in Iowa decided to have a drive-in service. Good. But after so many cars, he wouldn't let any more in the parking lot. And some of his people said, well, why can't they all get in? Well, we got to space the cars 6 feet apart. This guy can't really have a degree in theology because he doesn't obviously have any common sense. Cars don't give other cars corona. You go to even Walmart in a closed state and the cars aren't parked 6 feet apart. We've lost our collective minds. And the president is absolutely right. There are far more reaching and vast numbers of problems being created by the cure than dealing with the actual sickness itself. Mr. President, keep going. We're praying for you. And it is time for you church leaders, stop singing about onward Christian soldiers and victory in Jesus and, pontificating. Because when you are needed the most and the battle is ensuing, you're in hiding. You're in quarantine. Really? Don't you ever again, when this is over, look in my direction, talk about the kind of music that Pastor Bramer has and the kind of standards that his church had. You've lost all platform to say anything. Anything. You're a joke. And it's sad. Because when the world needed the message of the cross, of Calvary, of Jesus Christ the most, you were in lockdown. Open your doors. Have church. Show people that God is not dead.
The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. Fate did not do that. Destiny did not do that. A lot of pain and suffering did that. The number is down because we brought the number down. God did not do that. 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 The number is down because we brought the number down.
Yeah, that's the message that Governor Cuomo was giving people. Where are you, New York pastors? Where are you? Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Spread this to your social media platforms because we don't practice social media distancing here. That said, make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell to get notification of my rants, but you gotta click the word all. Otherwise, YouTube forgets to tell you I'm here.